In this last film on the Disability Inclusive WASH checklist, I will show you how to review a document and score it using the checklist, and then I'll show you how to populate the checklist with the scores from that document. So first off, you have to open the checklist. Now I'm going to use the example of the service providers checklist to show you how to score a program document. So the second part is you identify the document that you want to score. Now I'm going to score a project plan. So I'm going to add a new worksheet for that project plan. And I will call the worksheet the name of the project plan. Now I'll go to the service providers checklist and I will copy the clean or the version that is not populated into this worksheet for your project plan. Now, before I start reviewing a document, I will have spent a little while understanding and getting to know the checklist. So I will know that individualized services is about accessible infrastructure and accessible information related to WASH. I'll know that entitlement and affordability is about financially supporting people with disabilities to gain access to WASH. And I'll know that participation is about supporting individuals to participate in interventions, in solutions, in decisions that affect their lives. So now I'm going to open the document that I want to review. And I will, I read it, I've read it, I've done this in advance to show you what it would look like. And I highlight any sentences that I think relate to a concept. Now I've done that with yellow. Then I go through, or you can do it at the same time, and I identify the actual concept that the sentence is talking about. And I link it to an activity. And then I give it a score, a quality of commitment score. Now I'm going to give you a couple of examples to show you exactly what that means. So this one here, accessible public WASH facilities constructed with the full involvement of and guidance from people with disabilities. So this relates to individualized services because it's talking about accessible public WASH facilities, but it's also talking about participation because it's with the full involvement and guidance from people with disabilities. So I know it's that core concept, so I write a comment which says individualized services and participation, and I identify an activity that it relates to. So individualized services relates to accessible public WASH. So that's the number 2, promote and deliver accessible public WASH services. Now, please don't worry if your activities don't exactly match. It's more about, are you working towards achieving that guiding principle and that concept? If you are, score it against individualized services, for example. Now, remember the scoring system. So we have scores 1 to 4. 1 is that the concept is only mentioned. 2 is that the concept is mentioned and explained. They're low quality. 3 relate to specific program targets and actions that are identified to address the concept. And 4 is where you move into monitoring and evaluating and presenting the results. So 3 and 4 are high quality. So if we go back to this, the document that we are reviewing, it's talking about things in the past. So it's saying that accessible public WASH facilities constructed. So that scores 4 because you're presenting the results. Ideally, you would have included more details in terms of the number constructed, for example. But participation, you're talking about the full involvement and with guidance from people with disabilities. So they are clearly contributing to the development of the solution. So that scores 4. So I'll carry on showing you examples from here. So further down in the document, there's something about risk. Now this relates to protection from harm. And the risk here is that people with disabilities are targeted or abused for some reason because of the hygiene promotion messages. So what this project plans to do, so it's planning to do it, it's not reporting on what it's done. It plans to conduct risk assessments to identify possible risks for people with disabilities before new project interventions. So that relates to protection against harm. This is all about do no harm principles. Now the activity that speaks to is activity 5.1, which is identify and address the specific risks of harm to people with disabilities, particularly women and girls with disabilities. Now, remember they were talking about things they're going to do. They're not reporting on what they've done. So that would score 3. So I will have gone through the whole document and scored every section that I've highlighted. And I would populate the checklist then. And I'm just going to do a couple of examples to show you what that means. So going back to this example of accessible public wash facilities constructed with the full involvement of people with disabilities. So that's individualized services and participation. So I'm going to take individualized services. It's scored 4 against activity 1.2. So I'm going to go back into here. Now I go to activity 1.2 and it has scored 4. Now I'm going to go back to the document and it also scored 4 against activity 4.1 for participation. So I go back to the checklist, I go down to activity 4.1 and I enter a score of 4. Now remember there was one a bit later about protection from harm. So I'm going to enter that score now. So that was protection against harm, speaking to activity 5.1, and it scored a 3. So 5.1, and it's a 3. So I'm just going to highlight that cell in green. So then I will do the same and I'll add the scores across the whole document. You'll see that I've got a number of comments here that I would add. Once you finish populating it, it will look something like the example. So you'll be able to see quickly, where are the areas that you can improve? Where are you doing well? But with the low quality, can you push them into high quality? Now you can also score a number of documents within one checklist, and you would just do that by adding additional worksheets and naming them the name of the document that you're reviewing, and you would just repeat the process that I've showed you. You can do this as a group, you can do this individually, you can do this as part of a workshop. It's really up to you how you use this document, but I hope it's helpful and I hope it helps you deliver inclusive WASH services. Thank you.